everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I decorated and matted the mini album I made using Graphic 45's Farmhouse. So this is a collection that has not been available. I do have a 12 by 12 paper pad, but I wanted to, I also picked up an 8 by 8 from a little scrapbook store that was in Astoria, Oregon. I had done this video a while ago, and so many people have asked me to show how I made the album and how I decorated it. So this is the video showing you how to decorate it. There is another video showing you how to put the book together. So without any further ado, let's get started decorating. All right, so we're going to start decorating the cover. I'm not going to add it to the book. I'll just keep it aside, but that way I know what papers I'm going to use and sort of reserve that for an important thing. So let me tell you what you'll need. Now I pulled out this off-white cardstock. We're not going to use that for the cover, but you use it somewhere else in the book, so just grab some off-white cardstock. I'm also using yellow. I have this tomato red, and what I'm trying to do is replicate these colors, and I don't have a yellow and I don't have this orangey color. So we're going to do our best to make something look just like that with some inks. So you get to play around with a little bit of mixed media. The papers we're going to use is, we're going to use a little bit of this one, this the check print. We're going to use this one. This one's called Farmhouse. Oh, and this is the check prints on the back of this. This is called General Store. We're going to use this out of it. But we need to cut this so it, so we don't use up all the paper. Let me move things out of my desk. Oh, two other things you'll need are, so in my stash I had this ribbon, and to me this looks like some hay. So we'll have that coming out of the cow's mouth. Now if you don't have anything like this fringe, you can use some embroidery floss if you have it, or even just pieces of baker's twine or just some kind of twine that you just ink up a little bit yellow. That would work fine. And then I also have a piece of string. If you had a cowbell, a little teeny cowbell, that would be so cool. I don't have one, but that's okay. We'll do without it. I'm going to first cut this down. And sometimes when you have papers that have a lot of different cut aparts, you have to be careful how you cut it. I want this piece, but I can't just cut that out because we've got this and I might need that. So I'm going to make sure that I save that piece. So that comes off. And then I can't just cut straight up because I can't. I'm going to cut off the wording, and by the way, this is called General Store. Not the wording, but the branding strip. And then I'll cut this in half because now I have a clear shot of that. I'm getting closer. I can cut it like that. Now I can cut down. And one more cut and I've got it. So there, life on the farm. I'm going to trim this side because I want it to be even though only a microscopic piece came off. Look at that, really? All right, so I'll put these aside, and I'm sure I'll use this somewhere later, and then there's this small one too. And while we're cutting, I might as well. So what I want is, I want some of this cow. I need just like this amount. Grab another piece of off-white paper. And like that. So that's what I need. So I don't mind that I'm gonna be covering up some of this. But you know what I want is I want to be able to use this piece with the cow later on, with that cow. And what I want is some of the horns on here. So what I'm first going to do is cut off the branding strip. And if you don't end up cutting it this way, just cut it straight across. That's okay too. All right, and then I'm going to cut it so I can get this cow. And since I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, boy, it'd be nice if I had this whole chicken. You know what? If I don't get the chicken wing, that's okay. It's going to go right up to the nose of that. So that's what I got. I went down to the, I'm going to put it this way, right against the line of that last white check mark. Cut off some of the chicken wing, but I went up to the nose. All right, now what I want to do, let me grab a ruler. I want to cut across about the top of here, but I don't want to cut the cow's horn. So let me draw a line. Here. A pencil line so we can erase it. And just because I can't cut straight, I'm going to cut some of this with my paper trimmer. But not all of it. And I'll cut some with my scissors. So I have some of it cut on each side, but I'll just finish it. And you could cut it all with your scissors. But like I said, I don't get a straight cut when I cut. I'll go from this direction. And then I'll go from this direction. So I got some of that cow's horn. And that's neat because it'll stick up. This one I don't need. This one I'll need for the inside front cover. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. All right, so that's some of the cutting we need to do. But we need to do some more. Okay, so I have a piece of this tomato soupy color. It's 7 3/8 by 5 3/8. This is going to be the first layer on the book. And I want to, let me pull in this, sort of replicate this color. Now this is totally not that color. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to use some ink. I'm going to use just a plain piece of paper to put down. And I'm going to start with Distress, oops, I dropped something, Distress Oxide Antique Linen. And I'm going to just tap right at the, trying to get the, and it's okay if you go too much, trying to get at the corner of it. Just trying to tone down this color. So I'm just going to go on all four sides. And tone it down. And that's okay. That's good. All right, now I want to add a little bit of yellow to it. Now this isn't the right yellow. If I had a more golden yellow, that would be better. but use what you have. So I'll just add a little bit of this, and it's okay that it's blotchy and showing in more areas than others. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to sort of give it the idea of the color. All right, and that's good. Now, you could let that dry a second, which probably would be ideal. But I'm going to grab, so now I have this. If I had this in Distress Oxide, it's called Rusty Hinge, that would be great, but I don't. So what I want to do is tone down those colors I just put on there and just ink a little bit. Just very lightly. My inks are nearly dry. I probably should just get rid of them, but I don't want to do that. Okay, so then we go from that blatant color to, you just see a touch of it and it's subdued a little bit. Is it close to this? You know, if you squint, it's close. I might add a little bit more of the antique linen. See, if you use this, it smears. It doesn't have that texture that you see on here. All right, that's good enough. Put these away. Put that away. Okay, so this is layer 1. Second layer is going to be this. But you know, I only have 3 8x8 pieces of this, and I don't know that I want to use it all. So what I'm going to do is pull in my big paper towel and cut the center out of it. I want about 1/2 inch staying, so I'm just going to go around all 4 sides and cut some of this off. I don't always do that, but in this case, my paper is going to be spread so thin, I want to make sure I have enough left to cover the whole book. And so there we go. Got that, and I've got this piece left that I can use somewhere else. So we'll have this, then we'll have this. Oh, did I tell you the measurement of this? 7 3/16 by 5 3/16. So we're just cutting it a little bit smaller. I just wanted a little bit of that red to pop through. Next we're going to do yellow, and again, I don't have the right yellow, so I'm going to have to make it. And I've already inked. I used this Rusty Hinge and just inked around the edge, and that will be pretty good. What I will do next, probably want to cut this down, but look, see how his little horn is sticking out? So I cut this down. It is just 4 3/4 by 4 1/2, but I'm going to cut this down a little bit. I'm going to cut 3/16 off of here. What? Oopsie. 3/16, really? But you know what? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. It's a small piece. So that'll go on there. Need a little more. There, that's good. Okay, so we've got that. And I'm going to off camera ink up the edges of the top and bottom. I don't have to ink up this with some black soot, and then I'll get the other pieces ready. Basically what we're going to be doing is putting this, let's start from, this will go down. Then the yellow. Then the cow. Just about 1/8 of an inch is showing on that. And then this is going to go here. And then I'm going to have the chickens. I'm going to fussy cut. I'll probably put some of this down at the bottom. And that'll go right up at the top so you don't see very much of that. So that's sort of the plan. Let me get everything into gear. All right, before we go any further, I want to get the hay in his mouth. So I'm gonna, or hers, I'm gonna cut a little line right under the upper lip. Not much, just 1/2 an inch worth. And then I'm gonna come in and add some double-sided adhesive just to keep everything down. I'm going to go through and cut it again. Pull off the backing on the adhesive. Now you don't need to do this. If you want, you can not add the hay, and also if you wanted to, you could just glue it on top. You know, it depends on what level of effort you want to go to. All right. I'm going to take this and sort of put it in the mouth. Just like it's coming out of the mouth. Oh, that's so cool. Separating it. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. I am using the Designer Dries Clear Glue from the Art Glitter Company. That's underneath there. Not that it's going to go anywhere. And then don't forget on the cows. A little horn there. Center it on the side. And push it down and I'll burnish. I decided not to put the rope around the side. I just decided there was enough texture there with the fringe. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Okay, so I have this shoe polish bottle that I put in some black distress. I'm just going to use it just to go around the perimeter just so white doesn't show on my edges. That's as much inking as I'm going to do right there. I'll add glue. I like to go around the edge, make sure I get some a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch around the perimeter, so that way I still have room to move it, but yet when I burnish it, that glue will spread out and get to the edge. The danger in that is you get some seepage. Sometimes the glue will come out, but you know what? That's no big deal. Now we know it's gone to the edge, and we're good. All right, let's glue this down. So the horn is going to get glued down again. Alrighty. Now before I glue this, I'm going to have to doctor this up a little bit. For right now, I'm just going to cut underneath where it says life is better. I'm going to use the rest of it, but we're just going to do life is better. Nobody will ever know that it said on the porch. Alright, this is going to go like here. Packed it. And let's see how much of this is going to go. I want the chickens and rooster. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. From this piece that we had left over, I'm going to cut off two inches. So it's going to be 2 by 4. All right, glue it down. It's just going to stick on the bottom. Okay, so remember, this is going to cover up a lot of here, so that'll cover up that. Now I'm going to fussy cut. I know. So we're going to get this rooster and a little bit of this, but I'm going to cut off the wings. So that chicken wing is staying there. Now there's all the zigzag of the coxcomb. Gonna cut some of it off. Right now I'm just gonna go around the whole thing. I know some people hate to fussy cut, and if I can avoid it I will, but this is the cover. So if there's any time I'm going to do it, it's going to be for the cover. I'm going to go back in and do a little more detail cutting after I get the majority of it cut out. And then I'm going to lightly ink it. I'm going to go back in and use this rusty hinge. Just lightly. It shows up more as a brown because there's black outlines. Okay. Now this will go like that. And I'm going to cover up with this rooster that line where the two pieces came through. All right. All right, and that's it for the cover. That wasn't so bad. All right, I'm going to put this in a safe spot and leave it until I'm ready to finish the book. Before I do, I did write on here ribbon, because otherwise I might forget to put the ribbon on. And this way I can add the ribbon to the book and then put this on. And that'll be a gorgeous front cover. So that is the front cover. Yeah, that's the front cover. That's all we're going to do right now. Okay, so I'm going to use 2 pieces of off-white cardstock to for the inside. Again, I'm stretching the paper. Now, if you have more paper that you can use, if you just want to use plain white or off-white or whatever, you can use that. Also, look through your Graphic 45 papers and see if you have one that is similar in color. Maybe you have some solids from another collection that will work for this collection. Since I don't, I am inking. So that is not perfect, but it's going to do. First, what I did is I took my off-white cardstock and I inked. Let me get my messy paper with antique linen oxide. I'm just concentrating on the edges, but I also am adding a bit of color. I have ink on my fingers. I have to take that off. I'll go like this to hold it. I'm adding some color to the center of the page. It's okay if it's blotchy. You're going to add photos to it, and I'm just trying to get it to blend with the other papers. So just trying to get the same color. Now I'm going to go in with a teeny bit of Rusty Hinge. And brushed corduroy. Oh, that's okay. It's not perfect, but it'll work to help it blend in with what we have going on. All right. So pulling in the book, we've got this piece for the inside front cover, which we can go ahead and add. Now I'm going to add some pieces to the bottom, so I put the worst part, the part I didn't like the inking the best, on the bottom. Now you're going to say, Debbie, what about your magnets? Yes, we're going to add magnets, but they're going to be attached to chipboard. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I just want to get this out of the way so nothing happens to them. I'm going to have a cheater pocket over on this side, and I'll show you what I mean. So I want to make sure that this part is good. All right, so there's that. You know what, while we're inking things, do another one that's 2 5/8 by 5 3/8. That's going to go here. So let's go ahead and ink that just the same as you did these, but just really on the edge because we're going to cover the center. Okay, so for the inside front cover, we're continuing. You'll need a piece that is 2 3/8 by 5 3/8. This is 6 3/8 by 5 3/8. Don't glue these down yet. Don't glue them down yet. And then for that inside flap, we're going to cut this down side to side and top to bottom. Let me show you the picture. Okay, I'm going to hold this up so you can see where the image is cut. So you're going to cut off the orange line on this side where it says life is better. You're going to cut just off that orange line. You're going to cut right up to the cow's foreleg, some of the rump, almost to the pig's rump. So that will measure 2 inches, not including the cow's face. So you'll cut it 2 inches and then fussy cut the cow's face out and then adhere it onto there. Now, I didn't put it on evenly. You see there's more of the check than there is on, there's more on the right side than the left, but that's okay. Okay, so we have this 2 5/8 by 5 3/8, and then this piece, getting out my ruler, is 2 3/8 by 5 1/8, and I'm just going to glue that on. There we go. And I'm going to grab some ink so we can tone down like that stamp above the rooster's tail, just so the animals show a little more clear. It's not going to go away entirely, but it's just toned down. So now really you see the cow, the pig, and the rooster primarily. Okay. I have this piece left over from when we trimmed it. I'm going to take off this piece with the milk and cream. Just going to cut right up to that white line. And I'm going to take off this piece, homegrown. So there still will be a piece that says general store below it, but I might use that. So then we have this. I'm going to cut so now let's dry fit it. The cow's nose is going to come a little bit over, and that's okay. Alrighty. So this will go over here. That is perfect. I will add glue. Now, if you don't want to mess with this, you want to add something different, that's okay. You can do that. But I liked having these 3 here. But that's okay. All right, so that goes like that. Make sure his face is glued down or else he'll bend. And our chipboard piece is this Rise and Shine. Now, if you don't have the chipboard, there are some stickers, if you have some of the sticker sheet, that you can use. You would have to put them on chipboard. So you can do that. There's these little nubbins where it adhered to the chipboard. I don't like those. I mean, they're necessary. They have to have them, but they get in the way. So I cut them off, and then I'm also going to take, I have an emery board. So I'll just get those off with my emery board. And if you want, you can ink these. I'm not going to. I don't need to. But, okay, so here's something. You ever have any of these swing tabs and you put it on the page and the page just isn't that thick and it just sort of hangs? So to remedy that, I'm going to take and not cut through all the way, but I'm going to about 1/4 of an inch away from here, cut a little piece and add a teeny little magnet. I get my magnets from Total Element Magnets, and this one is 3/16 of an inch. I'll show you it in a second. So I'm just going to do that so I can peel off some of this. So you may think this is not a necessary step, but I just got tired of my swivels just sort of hanging and not really helping hold up the page. Or all right, that's good. And I'll show you my magnets. The 2 magnet sizes, this one is the 3/32, so it's pretty small. Oops. But I can just add a little bit of glue. It's going to absorb because there's all that chipboard. And then I'm going to cover this with just a scrap. I'll just take a piece of black cardstock. All right, I'm just going to add some glue to here. I'm just going to put my cardstock just right up to here. Burnish it. You're not going to see it, so I'm not that concerned about it. I'll go ahead and cut it off with a knife. Oh, there we go. So now I've got that one, and there is the other one. All right, I also need a brad. I had a black one and a bronzy looking one. I think I'll use the black just because there's so much black on the page. All right. So this will go here, and this will go here, and this will go there. So I'm going to mark where I want this. Make a hole. Then I'm going to do see where that hole is. Because I can't see it. I'm adding a piece of packing tape to the back. I can't see where that hole is. So we've got to have it far enough to the left-hand side that this piece can clear it when it opens. So I'll take this. Go through here. Okay. So there's that. We can glue this on. Make sure you don't see the legs of the brad. All right, so we're good on there. That'll stay up for a second. And I'm going to take just a little dab of glue, put it here. Don't let it touch the paper. Come around. And that's where I want some double-sided adhesive. Peel off the backing. And so the magnet stays behind. Now I can cover this. And so now when this stays right in place, isn't that fabulous? All right, let's finish up the details. So I've cut this from that border paper. It's about 1 1/4 by 7, and this is 7 1/4 by 1 3/8. So I am just going to glue this down. Of course, you should ink up the edges. All right, just center that on there. And then I had this scrap, so I cut a piece of paper to fit it. This is 1 3/8 by 5 1/2. And this is 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. What we're doing is making, I call them cheater pockets. All right, we'll center that on there. And then I have these little scraps we had, and I don't know what size they are, but I did cut paper just a little bit bigger than them. They're just going to be little accent pieces. Or conversely, if you have stickers, you could use stickers. All right, pull in the book, open the page. So this one will go down here. And like I said, it's a cheater pocket, so I'm just going to glue it on the sides and across the bottom. I like using glue instead of tape. Tape, of course, doesn't dry, and your pieces will get stuck in there. All right, put that in, burnish it, push the corners just so it'll stick up a little bit, and this will go. So do the same thing, glue on the short sides and one long side. And that's going to go here. And then this will go there. And we'll just go like that. And then what I'm going to do is add photo mats to these pages, but I'm going to wait till the very end and see what I have left of my papers before I make the photo mats. I'm going to make them out of scraps, but obviously you'll be able to add, oops, that's not glued there. Add something to here and something to here. So that is what we have for the inside front cover. Now we'll work on the front of page 1. All right, I'm going to tell you the measurements of the pieces you'll need to cover the front of page 1. You will need 2 pieces that are 6 7/8. Everything is 6 7/8 because our page is 7. 6 7/8 by 3 3/4. Double check your measurements though. These are 6 7/8 by 1 7/8. You'll need 2 of those. I mean, it's the back of that. 2 of those. Then I had this piece. This is going to be covering the inside, but it's not going to fit in the inside. I didn't have enough to fit in the inside, so I had a piece that was 4 1/4 and then cut it 6 7/8. So this will work. And then I have other pieces we're going to add to it, but first we're going to put on our magnets. So I'm going to put a piece of double-sided permanent adhesive here. Now if you have the basic gray magnets that already have the adhesive, you know how those work. So I'll put that there. And then what I like to do is take a dot of glue, put it in the center of that magnet, touch it to that, wipe off this glue. And so I know that's where I need another piece of adhesive. So I put that piece of adhesive, peel off the backing. I'm going to take the backing and just stick it right there for a sec. Grab my corresponding magnet and just let it kiss. And then push that down, and now I've got a magnet there and a magnet here. All right, let's go ahead and glue this piece to cover it. So I have the chicken paper showing on the front. Now you can change the, again, you can use whatever paper you want. Now add some glue around there just to be sure. So put that on. All right, we're good there. That will close now. Make sure that fits. Of course, you could round the corners here if you wanted to. I chose not to, but you could. I like to round the corners when there's a flap, but in this case, I sort of like the sharpness, linearness, I don't know, is that such a word, of the features. We'll take this one and put it on the top. I'll burnish that in a second. This will go here. Alrighty. And now this one, I'm going to center on the page a little closer to the top than the bottom. I have other things we're going to use to stretch out the paper. So one good thing about Graphic 45 is that they have a lot of those border strips, and especially in this 8x8 pad, they're the perfect height to help stretch out paper when it's too short. So again, I'll have a larger gap on the bottom than the top. All right, here that, and that. All right, so what I've done is from the border paper, I've taken, there's a strip that is the chicken strips. There's one that has a pattern. I cut a little more, have a little bit of red in it than I did the other one. So one of these I'm going to put up here. I backed them on some black cardstock. So I'm going to take the chicken strip, and I am very carefully adding glue to the sides. Now you can cut the black cardstock to 7 and the pattern paper to 6 7/8. I'm just going to add a thin bead of glue on the bottom, so this will make a cute little tuck spot. Put this, make sure this will still close. We'll take the border paper and again add glue to the sides. Now I can't draw a straight line, you notice that? If you've got more paper and you're not worried about running out, you could cut it the full length of the paper and just have at it that way. But of course I didn't, so we'll make do. And you know what? It looks fine. Now here, for this one, I am going to add this at the top. So I'm going to just add glue in the sides and a bead of glue along the top. Whoops, good thing that turned upside down. And put that right there. Make sure the page will still close. There we go. All right, we're going to let that dry. While that's drying, so I have a sticker sheet. Now there are a couple of chipboard elements you could use, but I used this from the sticker sheet and I put it on some of the heavyweight black cardstock. I adhered it to black cardstock and then fussy cut around it. I also fussy cut around just a little scrap of paper, and we're going to add this to the bottom. I inked around the edge so it looks like it's a little bit smaller, but it's really not much smaller. Got some double-sided adhesive I have to peel out. I use ATG to hold things in place while I'm doing the tutorials. So sometimes you'll see some remnants of ATG on my pages. Okay, put that there. So we're going to put this here. I like this one better than the chipboard ones because it's got the chickens and roosters on it. So it looks like it's going to have a magnet on it, but it doesn't. It's just there because it's pretty. I'm going to add a reasonable amount of glue. Have just a little bit. What's this little piece here? Let's make sure it's centered. So just a little bit of this will be showing through. That will work. That will work. And then to complete this page, now I said we're going to do other images later on, but I cut this out of that border paper. They're part of the tickets, and I just thought they were really cute. Rise and shine. Happiness is homemade, the rooster, and farmer's market. Of course, once you add photos, then you could just put them down here, but you could leave them on there. It depends on what photos you have. But that is the front of page 1. The last thing I wanted to show you for the front of page 1 was I added these little ticket stubs. These came from that sheet with the border strips, but and that of course came from the other one. So you can just go through and add what little bits and pieces you can. You could either do it now or wait till you're done with the book and see what you've got left. But these will all sit nicely. And then again, if you wanted to add a photo, you can tuck it in. So that is the front of page 1, and we're ready to move on to the back of page 1. Okay, so for the back of page 1, you'll need 4 pieces that are 3 3/8 by 4 7/8. So you'll be putting them on the front and back of those flaps. I've also gone ahead and put on a magnet here, so I don't have to worry about that. And then for the inside, you'll need 2 pieces that are 3 1/8 by 6 13/16. It's a weird size because, remember, this might have been a little bit smaller, and I just wanted to make sure there would be enough room. Now, I'm putting this in here. It, of course, doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, but that's okay because we've got the tape there, and you're not going to see it anyhow. Let's go ahead and start by gluing this. It's one of those pages where there's not a lot of decorating, but it really goes a long way. You know, whoops, I didn't mean to get glue there. And then we'll also have a couple of photo mats inside. So center that on the page, of course. And the photo mats will add some extra color too. Now, you might want to, if you think you're going to do a lot of photo mats, you might want to put the photo mats on before you add the second magnet, because sometimes it could make this page really bulk up. Now I am going to go towards the top of this page. I had this left over when I cut this down. So it's a little bit smaller than I would have wanted, but I had to have this size. So I'll show you how we're going to fix that. So there's about a little less than 1/4 inch on the bottom. So that's okay. That's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and add these. So the only thing you need to do ahead of time is put that magnet on the right flap outside. We're going to add a chipboard element to the front of it to hold it all together. I try not to use that many magnets because I know if you don't get them from Total Elements, they can get expensive. So that's why we've got some of the different styles of closures. But still, magnets are easy. Now, see, this doesn't come together like it did to begin with, but that's okay. All right, we're going to cover this. Now, I know that tape will hold the magnet, but I don't mind adding a little extra glue just to make sure it holds the magnet. All right, so that doesn't come together the way I wanted it to. I could add another piece to it. But you know what? If I add photos, it might come further apart. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And it's okay. Nobody will notice it but me. Love how this paper all coordinates. So that's what I say. If you don't want to do it exactly, if you don't want to decorate it exactly the same way I did, that's okay. There's all the paper coordinates. Okay, now let's deal with the closure. So I cut this out, or didn't cut out. It had the little nubs. I already cut them and emery boarded them. I also inked around the edge. Just, it was bothering me. I've got 2 black brads. You don't need to do this, but I just liked covering those holes. And if you have really long-legged brads and these legs get in the way, go ahead and just cut them off. Usually they're not that thick, and you can cut them with the scissors. I'm just going to burnish them. Now, I've already scored and gotten a little bit, put a little bit of hole in there. Let's see what, I had that extra magnet because I was going to do it on camera and decided to do some pre-work. All right, so I know I need this side to go down on here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is add some glue to this and put it on some black cardstock. Do I want to do black cardstock? You know what? I think I'll just do a scrap of paper. We'll do that. So I'll add glue. And put it on here. Burnish it. And then I'll get out my little board. I don't like to cut on this surface. It just makes it look raggedy after a long time. You could also have taken a pencil and drawn the perimeter of this and then fussy cut it. All right, there's that. And I think what I might do is just use my emery board. There, sand it down. And then I'll take my ink and just go around the top of that. I know, I do a lot of these crazy details, but I always think it's the details that help make it look special. Clean up some of these things while I'm waiting for that to dry. Okay, so that'll stay like that. So what I'm going to do is add glue. So what I did is I matched up the center, the crevice between the 2 pages with, there's a center line there. I'm going to add just a touch of tape here. Yes, half of this will be hidden. I didn't have to cover the whole thing, but it was just easier. And then I'll also add glue. I don't like adding glue on top of my permanent adhesive. Okay, I'm going to match it up with that. Make sure it's straight. And burnish. The permanent adhesive will hold it while the glue dries. So there we go, and there is that. And then I will grab a little strip of paper and put it right there. Okay, on that border strip paper was this teeny little check, which is just enough to fit here. Even if it overlaps that, that's okay. It just was enough to fill in the space, but doesn't detract from the image. So I added some glue. Gonna put this on. There, I think that's nice. I'll also add a sticker or something on there as well. So that is it for the back of page 1, front of page 2. So the front of page 2 has this. I decided that I want to add a pocket. So it's last minute, so it's not in the previous video. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But so I cut cardstock 1 inch bigger than the width. So the width was 4 3/4. So this is 5 3/4. I'm going to score 1/2 inch on both sides and 1/2 inch on what will be the bottom of the pocket. And then I will miter. Remember how to miter pockets. Cut, miter at the top and cut across the X. Fold and burnish on the score lines. I just decided to add this pocket because, I just thought the page needed something else. So I will add glue to the bottom tab. I'm making sure the paper still folds. And then I'll add a little bit of tape. Now, I don't know if you've seen any of my previous videos or know much about me, but I live and travel and craft in my RV. So I am in a tiny little 7-foot by 7-foot room. Would it be a room with bunk beds in it? It's a fifth wheel I travel in. But we've taken out the beds and put in a desk, and I have storage. Oh, that looks way too tall. No, I'm going to go with it. It's just way taller than in my mind it was going to be. And the danger of that is this magnet gets half hidden up. But you know what? I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. So anyhow, I travel and craft from my RV, and it's easy for me to grab things because usually they're just around, they're within arm's reach. They're always within arm's reach. All right, I'm going to take this one. This is going to go towards the top. So when I need my tape, I just reach around, and it's in the drawer that it belongs in, but it's really close. I can't see underneath there, so I'm going to put lighter paper there, make sure it's even, which it is, but I could go over a little. That's good. And I don't like this. I have some of the tape showing from the magnet. I'm going to, because we're going to have a tuck spot underneath, and this tape would keep things from, it would make them stick, and I don't want them to stick. And just to make sure that it doesn't, I have a stamping buddy. It's actually just got cornstarch in it, but it takes off the adhesive that's showing right there. Okay, so I've already taken this piece and put it on some black cardstock. I am going to add glue at the bottom and the sides. And put that there, just overlapping the paper ever so slightly. Alright, so there is a tuck spot. So this, I guess I'll use the milk cans. If these magnets weren't so strong, I would redo this page and move the magnets up a little bit, or shorten the pocket. See, I had it higher and I changed my mind. I'll burnish that on. Okay, good. All right, so we've got that, and then I have my friend the cow. Which I like him. He's got a lot of personality. So he's going to go front and center on this page. And then I'll find some things to add to this little tuck spot, and then that page, and also add something for this pocket. So that page is done. That is the front of page 2. Now we can do the back of page 2. All right, I have a dilemma for this page, but we're going to continue to cover it first. So for this, you'll need a piece that's 3.5 by 4 5/8. You'll actually need 2 pieces. That's the same size as this. And then this one is 4 5/8 by 4 7/8. And I have a magnet here and here. This piece is just a little sliver. It's 1 1/8 by 4 5/8. And this is 5 5/8 by 4 5/8. And this is 6 5/8 by 4 5/8. Don't glue this one down, but you can glue the other ones down. So I'm going to do that and talk about my dilemma. So the dilemma is I want a swing tab to go on this page. And by that I mean I want something anchored here that will hold this down. I can go ahead and glue this down because it's not going to affect that in any way. So the thing is that in looking at my chipboard sheet, I've got ones that have the holes in it on the wrong side, and some are too big. My only other option is to use this one, which would work, but the reason I don't like it is because I've got verbiage here, and I don't want to confuse like the focal point, because that's where your eye will go, is reading that, and so I don't want to have something else. And plus, having that circular one isn't as ideal as having a long, thin one. pull off this, glue this, and then we will deal with the issue. So I could do a couple of things. I have some metal swing tabs, and I could use that. Or I have actually a chipboard, or I have a die, a Tim Holtz die that will cut through chipboard. And I could make, all right, so this is the only one not on. I could make my own swing tab. But I want to do something that you can do as well. So I don't want to use a die that you may not have. So I'm going to doctor up this one. It's thin, but it doesn't go in the direction that I need it to go. I can't put it upside down, and it's too long. I mean, it would work if it was the right orientation, but it's not ideal. So what I want to do is figure out where this needs to be. I can turn it upside down. So if I put it here and that swings, that would be fine. Probably want to take out that little and swing it here. That's okay, and then that'll open, assuming this paper's in the right place, which it is. So what I really want to do is cut this there. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to cut it. Probably when I planned out the page, I should have looked at what I had available and just have the opening on the other side, but that's okay. Well, that's not supposed to happen. This is a Cricut knife, and I just was thinking today, I don't like it. I need to replace it because it costs money to get a new blade. I mean, it's, you know, like $4 or $5. I don't want to spend that every time. All right, I'm gonna toss that. I'm gonna grab my emery board. And I am going to add glue. And I'm just going to put it on here. And hope that my blade will last, and just cut this off. Now I'm thinking I probably should have inked around it, but I didn't. That's okay. I can just take a pokey tool, poke there, so I know where my brad needs to go. Okay, a little ink. And because I can't get here with my inker, I'm just going to take a little bit of ink on a brush. And there we go. All right, now let me get a brad and I will adhere it to the paper and I'll do the little magnet trick. Too late. Too late. Unless I cover this again. All right, well, let me get a brad and we'll see where we are. Okay, so first of all, there's my mark. I've put some packing tape on the back just to make it stronger. I sort of feel like this is so close to the edge. Whoops, this is the way. I wouldn't want anything to happen to that. So there's my hole for that. Here is that. It's all dried. I did cut a hole with my X-Acto, and I'm going to add a little dab of glue and add my magnet in there. I just cut some paper. It doesn't matter what it is because it's not going to show. It just will hold the magnet in. So I'll put that there. Perfect. I have my magnet here. I have a brad. I will put my brad there. Okay, we're good on that. I'm not going to glue it yet. All right. Now, I also said I messed up by having this on here because I wanted to put my little magnet there. But I found I could peel this. See how it comes off at the bottom. And I could reuse this, but I already cut an extra one. So I'll just add the other extra one. So what I need to do is make sure that's in place. Add a touch of glue to that. Make sure this is in place. Pull that over, hold that there. Make sure that's straight, because last time it wasn't straight. All right, that's where I need a little bit of double-sided permanent adhesive. Put that down, peel off the backing. Okay, that will stay in place. Then I'll glue this new piece on. And burnish. Okay, that'll stay in place. And glue this. I'm going to add just a little bit of double-sided permanent adhesive here because I've got that packing tape and the glue doesn't, I just want to make sure it'll stick. So I put this in. Like that. And there we go. Okay. All right. So this opens like this and that opens like that. We'll add some extra little doodads there. That will close, but this will open, giving you extra room to add something. So that is the back of page, what page are we on? Back of page 2, moving to the front of page 3. Front of page 3 is simple. It's just a pocket with a something inside it. So for the pocket, it's 3 7/8 by 4 7/8. And I'm using this gorgeous flower paper so it coordinates with the preceding page. I don't like to be matchy-matchy, but I do like to coordinate. So that is there, and this is a great spot for sticker. I don't think I'd put chipboard on here because we've got the chipboard there. So this one still has the branding strip, and that is perfectly fine because you're not going to see it. So this can be as long as 6 7/8, but this happens to be 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. This makes a nice spot to put a long photo mat. So I will take advantage of that. And when I'm doing photo mats, I'll make sure I do something special for there. So that was quick, right? Let's move on to the back of page 3. All right, so for this page, you'll need 3 pieces of paper. This is 6 7/8 by 4 7/8. I already put some tape on the back, made my hole for the chipboard element, have the chipboard element, added my magnet, put in paper. I have that second magnet ready to go. As a matter of fact, I might as well just take my brad and put this on here. So we're ready to rock and roll with that. You'll need a piece for the back and a piece for the front, and that will measure, I know I wrote it down on one of these, 5 5/8 by 4 1/8. So this is going to go on the inside, so I can go ahead and glue that down. I am about at the end of my paper because I've already cut ahead, and I probably wouldn't have used this one, but it is all I had left at this point. Do I need any tape? I think I will, just because I'm worried about liquid adhesive will not stick to a non-porous surface like this packing tape. So that's why I added the extra double-sided adhesive, just to make sure it'll stick. So I'll go ahead and add this to here. Oops, boy, I made a mess. And I've already added my double-sided adhesive to that. So there is where my magnet will be, just to keep that swivel tab from moving anywhere. Oh, you know what? I meant to do this side. Oops, and then I'll add this to the flap. Okay. There we go. All right, we're moving on. Now we can do the front of page 4, and boy, it's going to go fast after this. Okay, I said it's going to go fast, and it will, sort of. So we'll need a piece for the inside of the pocket, 6 7/8, and it's got to be at least 3 1/4 inches. This is 3 7/8. So this will go inside the pocket. And the way to make these pages look coordinated is by repetition. I mean, same thing with decorating a house or planting a garden. You need some repetition. So that's why I like to use the same papers. I may use 2 of the same, or maybe even 3. Just depends on how many papers are in the collection and what seems to coordinate. I don't need any magnets on this page. Isn't that great? We don't need magnets, but we do need to fussy cut. So out of some paper, I fussy cut the 2 cows. But pay attention to this. So the way you want to fussy cut this guy is from the top of his rump, go straight. I went more at a angled pointing downward than I meant to. And then cut it on a straight angle. And then measure and see how long. It needs to be 2 inches. Is that what? Yeah. It needs to be like 1 7/8 inches from this right angle. And the reason we're doing that, and then this one's not quite as important, but when you cut this one, just cut to the feet, and I kept that country morning in it. Because we're not, this is going to go over to the side. So there's nothing here. So that's why it's important that this is straight. I want some of this barn to show beyond that. I mean, that's how I would do it. Now you can do it however you want. But I liked having the cows and, cut out a little bit. All right, so this will go over to the side, over to the left side, and that's glued. And then this guy goes over to the right. I'm sorry, over to the left. Just making sure I glue down anything. Whoops, I don't want to go too far over. But anything like this tail, I want to make sure that tail is glued. But I don't want anything glued that's going to go over this pocket. So I think I did. I'm going to take a little bit of powder and add powder. I wiped off the glue, but I'm just going to add powder from this EK Success anti-stick tool. Okay, make sure I don't go too high on this guy. And I'll just add glue to the top of that just to make sure I get the top. All right, and then that goes like that. All right, I'm just going to add a little glue here, finding that I can. And there we go with that. It'll be fun once you add something into that pocket. I just like how that makes sort of a little story. You've got the cows on the farm, although I don't know, would farmers have these 2 cows? But anyhow, so there is the front of page 4. You'll be excited to know that we're not doing any elements on the back of page 4. So all you need is a piece that is 6 7/8 by 4 7/8, because we're going to add a tuck spot on there. So I'm just going to add glue onto this. I think I cut this from the left side of the paper just because I liked the pig there and the price list of chickens. I thought that was fun to do. All these different chickens that were available. So that's all you need to do for the back of page 4. Now we'll move on to the back inside cover. All right, back inside cover. So out of one piece of paper, I cut this down to 7 1/4 and then cut it to 4. Then I rounded the corners on the top of one and the bottom of the other. So don't forget that orientation is going to be different because one's going to be on the inside and one's going to be on the outside. Now I have already added a magnet to the inside. We'll add chipboard on top of it, but a magnet is going to hold this so we don't have to fuss with any swivel tabs, but although you could, or on these pockets, sometimes I like to use the 2 circles. Use brads and string, the circle closures, but I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm going to make this fabulously easy. All right, so we've got that. And I've got this piece. So this is 7 1/4 by 3 1/8. I wanted this to show on the bottom of the pocket to coordinate with that. I'm going to put it here, but not right up at the top. About 1/4 of an inch from the bottom, because I'm going to add this to the top. This came from one of the, I don't know where this came from. Was it the border strip? It might have been that page with all the black and white elements. So this is going to go on the top. And this will go on the bottom. You could do it as a tuck spot or not. Now I'm going to put it as a tuck spot, but I may not tuck anything into it. Oh, so this is, of course, 7 1/4. Okay, and then inside the pocket, I'm using it this way, although you could turn it this way if you wanted to. Either one. I mean, you're going to cover this with elements inside the pocket, so it doesn't matter which way it goes. And of course, it doesn't go all the way down. I'm using scraps, so it wasn't a full-size scrap, but it works. That's why I had this element, just to separate these from each other. All right. I mean, I can use something long here. I like something to coordinate with that. Or just the chickens. Nope, there's no yellow in here. Bless this farm would work. Farmyard friends. That would work as well. You know, I think I'm going to do the farm style. My hesitation is this red doesn't completely match with that, but I could probably ink that with some antique linen, and that will help it coordinate. So I'm going to play around with that. You will see at the final walkthrough what I've chosen to do. But in the meantime, we have the back cover, the spine, and we have to finish up with the ribbon and the front cover. So I'm going to grab those things, and then we'll do that. And then we'll do the hidden photo mats, and then we'll be done. Okay, this is the final stretch. I grabbed some ribbons out of my stash. They're all about 12 inches long. So I have some sheer black. I have this gorgeous buffalo check that's already a little toned down. I have some white crinkle ribbon, satin seam binding. This was bright white. I toned it down by adding a little bit of antique linen, spritzing some water, and then soaking it, and then crinkling it. It's actually still a bit wet. It needs to dry. It'll dry a little bit brighter, but not a bright white. And then I have this fun fur that actually I believe I got at Dollar Tree for a while ago. I'm going to add these before I add the other elements to the page. I put a piece of double-sided permanent adhesive. All right, let's start with actually the small. So I'll start with this fun fur. Then I'll add the seam binding. And then I'll add the buffalo check. And then I will add the, whatever that is, the black sheer ribbon. Gonna, of course, add glue too. And I'll add extra glue once I put on the paper, just to be sure. I'm going to take some double-sided permanent adhesive and put it across there and burnish that. That'll just help hold it while everything dries. So here, I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. Here's my fun fur, the white seam binding, the buffalo check. If your buffalo check is too bright, then you can ink it as well. And then the sheer black. I just needed something black to go with that. Add a little bit of glue. And some double-sided permanent adhesive just to hold it all down till I'm ready. Now, if you want, you can tie a knot in the ends. I'll wait till I'm all done and see what I need. Okay, so for the front, off that. So remember, we've already finished this. It's been sitting under the mat on my, that was where I experimented, sitting under the mat on my table. So for a day and a half, 2 days, it's been flattening out and curing. Okay. There is less than 1/8 of an inch, a 1/16 of an inch maybe. Of course, it's a little bumpier here, so I'm going to work that a little more. But that's pretty good. All right. So that is that. I'm going to let that all chill while I work on the back cover and the spine. Okay, so for the spine, obviously you can see what direction I'm going in. I've got this piece, 2 inches by 5 3/8. I'm going to just tone it down with some black. You could use brown, you could use whatever. Depends on what color you're starting with. This white is less than 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. It's more like 1 13/16. Now, if I was going to do a dangle on the spine, I would address that now. I don't have anything to dangle on the spine, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. So this will go there. And that is fabulous. But since I don't have any dangles on the spine, I will put some chipboard elements. So this pattern paper is 1 5/8 by 5. Alrighty. Okay, there's that. I'm going to put it aside, and we'll put it on at the same time we put this on. All right, this is the back cover. A lot of times I'll do something like cut this in half. Do I want to do that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, because I was running out of this paper, I cut this hole because that's what I use for this. So I'm going to add, all right, this measures, I think we've already done the measurements because it's the same as the front cover, but about 5 7/8 by 7 3/8. Wait, that can't be 5 7/8. 5 3/8 by 7 3/8. Oh. I'll tell you the measurements of this in a second. That off-white is 5 1/8 by 7 1/8, and this is 5 by 7. If I had stripes, I would probably do stripes also. And a lot of Graphic 45 collections come with a really nice stripe that you can use as accents. But I don't mind that this back cover is just not going to be as fancy schmancy as some of my other ones. There's so much pattern in the book. And this has a lot of pattern, so that's fine. All right, so we have this. I'm going to open the book. So I can add this onto here. Oops. Looking for my paper towel. Okay, there is that. And now for the back cover. I'm going to add some more glue here. And there is that. Okay. Oops. go. Usually don't go crazy with ribbon like that, but I wanted to. Yeah. Okay, there is that. Let's work on the hidden photo mats for the pages. Then I will decorate it one more time, go through and add chipboard elements, and then I'll show you. All right, so here's 3 of the hidden photo mats. What you need to do to make those, just so you see what it is. And I use just some off-white cardstock. I figured you're going to put photos on it, so I'm not going to do anything fancy schmancy, and I didn't have any paper left. Anyhow, so what you need for this is 4 pieces of 4 3/8 by 8 1/8. Actually, 6 1/8. 6 1/8 by 4 3/8. A couple of different things you could do. If you wanted to, you could figure out how long you needed it, so you would just see maybe a 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch peeking out, and round all 4 corners. It's probably easiest. I always double check to see where this would fit. See, there's only about a 1/4, 3/8 of an inch sticking out, which is fine, especially if you're going to use something like this. I don't mind just a little bit of this, whoops, is peeking out. That's okay with me. You could have that much peeking out if you wanted to, however you want it. So you can actually just take this measurement, 6 1/8 by 4 3/8, and round the corners, add cardstock, whatever color you want, and round the corners. You would need it bigger than this, but I'm using my tab punch board. I've had this thing forever. This one needs to be the either the first or the last one. It doesn't matter. So what I do is I've already made my mark. I have that piece of tape, and I know that's where I want to start. It's almost equal with this punch part of it. So I'll punch. I also use this in conjunction with this tab punch. Did I punch a tab? I didn't. I'm going to punch this. This is also by We Are. So it coordinates. So I've already figured that to have about a 1/8 of an inch border around it, I need the center of my tab punch to be there. So I know to go to the medium punch, go 1/8 of an inch, make a mark, and that's where I need to line this up. This sounds confusing. If you do it when I'm doing it, it'll make sense. So 1/8 of an inch more than the medium tab and punch. And then I turn this over. I'm gonna put it this way. This piece cuts off this little thing. Now, it's a little raggedy sometimes. Again, I've had it for a long time. I don't know. I'm sure there's somewhere I can replace this. I file it every once in a while to keep it straight. But what I do if it's not as straight as I want is I just take my emery board and sand it. Because paper's made of wood, right? You can sand wood. So anyhow, that's what I do. And then I take I probably should have done something brighter so you can see. I take my tab punch and put it in. You see there's an even border all the way around it. I am going to do it with the chicken wire. I know it's not that easy to see. But it'll work. Put one on each side. So you'll have to figure out the measurements. I do two very close to the edge, and then have my tab to be viewable from any direction. And then I have 2 of these. I had 2 of those. Where did I put the other one? Oh, here it is. And this is cut 4 5/16, to be honest, by 6 1/16. I know, crazy. And put this on. I did not ink these or do anything with them. They are how they are. Now, if you had stamps to match this collection, that would be fun to do stamps. I hesitate on putting anything, even stickers, which aren't that bulky, but I really hesitate on doing anything like that. Stamps would be fine, and then even if you were to cover the stamps with a photo, that's no big deal. You probably wouldn't want to cover stickers with a photo. All right, burnish that. And there we go with our hidden photo mats. So my first one, oops, we'll go here. Second one here. Third one there. And the one we just did is for the 4th page. And there we go. See, I like the look of that. All right, now I am going to do one more, going to go through one more time and do stickers and chipboard. And then I'm going to take any of my scraps. For instance, I have this scrap. I know I can cut it in half, and it's 4 inches by 4 inches by 3, and make a 3 by 4, well, 3 and 1/8 by 4 and 1/8 tag. So I'm going to go through all of my leftovers and see what kind of tags and things I can make out of it and use all the scraps up. All right, let's take a last look at the album with all of the decorating complete. I do like how the ribbons came out. It would have been nice if I had like an off red, like a red color to go with it, but I don't, so it's okay. And like I said, I usually don't use that many ribbons, but I like it. So we've got the cover, we've got the cow, a little bit of hay coming out of his mouth. As I said, there are alternatives to that. There is that. I think that came out very good. We'll look at the spine and the back cover as we go through that. Here is this page. I didn't add anything to the front. I do have a photo mat. So as you can see, I took whatever scraps I had. I alternated with some of the border strips. And these are just some plain paper cut 1/8 of an inch, the decorative paper. So there's 3 of those on there, and I think that helps balance everything out. I did the same on the back. This photo mat measures almost 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. So like I say, just use whatever scraps you have left, and it'll help pull everything together. I added a couple of these extra pieces here, and then here is another photo mat. I used some of that decorative paper, but I didn't put any on the back. So you could put different size photos on there, and you could just tuck photos inside here. You don't need to put the photos on the photo mats if you don't want to. So that is like that. Life on a farm. 2 farmhouses with different colors, and this is my happy place. If you wanted to, you could add one of these elements. There's a couple of smaller ones right there, but that's entirely up to you. Like this one would have worked right there. So there is that. And that is how that inside front cover goes. Okay, so here is the front of page 1. That sticker came out very nice. And there we are with the cut aparts. I know I went through that. But here we have the hidden photo mat. Okay, here is that chipboard element. You know, and I didn't change this. Remember, I didn't like there was a gap in there, but I think it's okay. I don't think you even notice. So I added an, I had cut aparts. Let's see if I can find them. So Graphic 45 does these die cuts. Oh, there's a couple in there, and I tossed it in the trash. Yeah, just some die cut elements. Well, I'll get these out later, but I added that. I figured if I didn't use it now, I don't know when I'm going to use it. There's a photo mat. I used this paper and that Rise and Shine border sticker. Just put that plain in the back. And then there is that, same as what I showed you before. There's that border strip. It has that superior quality one. I just like that red in there. And then the yellow and red. Oh, incidentally, this dotted paper came from a totally different collection. And I don't mind mixing and matching if I need to. Of course, here you can add photos, and that would be perfectly fine. Here's our friend the cow. That comes up. Oh, I never did put anything in there. Would this work? Let's go with Rise and Shine. Yeah, that would work. So Rise and Shine is in there. That came from the die cuts. Those were die cuts too. I just added into the pocket. Here's our hidden photo mat. So this opens like that, and this will open like that. I have one of those die cuts here. Now, if you don't have the die cut, you could use the chipboard elements. You might want to peel off some of the chipboard. This is this one, actually. See how much of the chipboard I have left once I peeled it off of here? But I use that as a little tuck spot. I just liked having that there. You still could put a photo here, and you could cover that if you wanted to, but it makes a nice little spot, a tuck spot, and room on this side to add photos. That will close like that, and this opens like this. That is one of the die. I added this paper and this little border strip to the bottom. You could add a photo on here, or just take it out and put your photo here and a photo there. There really is a lot of room for photos, even though they might be small. Just a little tag. You could put a couple of small photos in here, or journal and type it out and just put it in there. But otherwise, you can add photos to this pocket. There's our hidden photo mat. Here is this page. I just added that little die. I sort of liked having it. It's open at the bottom, so you could use it as a tuck spot. And here is the pocket with the cows. And there is just a photo mat. And there is the photo mat we made. Final page. This is open. I really should add something there so you know it's a tuck spot. I'm looking to see if I have anything. Well, I'll have to go through. I mean, I'll just put something in there so you know that it is a tuck spot, and you can tuck your pictures underneath there. And I did tone this down a little bit with some distress ink, and it comes up. Of course, I put something on the bottom there, and then this comes up like that. For the photo mat, this is open on the bottom. You can add a lot of photos into these pockets. I mean, there's the bigger the pocket is, the more room there is. And that, of course, stays closed with a magnet. This doesn't have anything to do with the closure. And then here is the back cover. And I did put a chipboard piece. Let me spread this out. On the spine, I had some brads. I wish I'd realized that before. that match the paper nicely. So I put those yellow ochre brads right there, but I liked how that looked on the spine. And that is it. I don't think it was that difficult. When you look at each of the pages, you realize the pages aren't that difficult. It's just some of the details with the decorating, and if it's too much for you, you can omit those details. You don't have to have the chipboard pieces. You didn't have to have this coming out of, but it's the details that sort of add to it. So if this is your first album, just take your time with it. Just do a page at a time or a feature at a time, and you'll get it, and have grace with yourself. That is what I wanted to show you today. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like this video. That really helps me out. And I thank you so much for watching. Have a fabulous day.